Hey all, what's up? This is MMA Toad. I'm going to go through UFC Fight Night. Manel Kape just took on Almabayev, and I want to go through the full card, talking about where some predictions fell off, fights, final reactions, so forth. Some terrible judging on this one, but we'll get into that as we go. First card, kicking things off. Funny on the line on this one, actually, how it moved. Charles Johnson started off as an underdog, I think around like plus 130, 140. And Timarov, before you knew it, was actually the dog going into this fight at plus 114 odds there. Energy, he's been kind of like the Neil Magny of the flyweight division. He's holding down that 15th ranked spot, taking on a lot of these prospects. Timarov was an interesting one because of all of his first round finishes. Throws with huge power. Johnson eats some shots, but generally as the fight progresses, things pick up and turn into his favor. Unfortunate for him, I did have it 2-1, as Timarov was just having the better shots in the first two rounds, and Energy was simply needing a finish. He was getting dropped throughout the fight as well, but it's not like he was completely concussed and rocked and stumbling. He was just literally getting knocked on his ass and getting up fairly quickly. But it was clear that Timarov did a good job of controlling his cardio to at least have two dominant rounds, solid striking, circling off. The clinch work, Charles was able to get some knees working in these exchanges, but it really wasn't until the third round where Energy was able to go body head. And I saw like a quick little video he had streamed after the fights and owning up to it. So he knew the decision, he agreed with the decision. Looking forward to his bounce back. I'll never count CJ out of a fight. He's just one of those guys, and Flyweight's got another contender on the rise. I can't say that he's going to be another Steve Ercik or Tatsuro Taira, but time will only tell. Johnson's got a large, interesting frame. If these guys want to stand and go to war with Timarov, he could be hitting more spectacular first round, second round knockouts. So excited to see what's to come here. Next fight, I had Aldridge by decision. We ended up getting that. I like Andre Lee. I think she does her thing, but she's had a tough skid. She prior had 5-fight losing streak. She gave her efforts in these exchanges. I just knew that Aldridge, whenever they were going to get close and, she crosses that void, Aldridge would do a lot more work in the clinch and to the ground eventually as well. And that's exactly what happened in this fight. So pretty easy decision there for her. I don't know if Lee is going to be around much longer, sadly for her. Moving up the card, this one pissed me the fuck off. So, Danny Silva very easily won these first two rounds. I don't know how to say it. He won these first two rounds. Lucas Almeida, he started having things go a lot more his way in the third. I'll give him the third. But I had it 2-1. Pretty easy. This guy, Anthony Maness, I don't know what he was watching. I think he was on his phone watching Nina drama reels, just jerking it for a few of these fights. Because, ironically, not just this fight, but another fight later down the card, he's the only judge that scores it in a favor of a fighter who did not win the round. So here we have round 2. Every judge is giving this basically to Danny Silva, because he's piecing him up, and no, these aren't dropping Almeida, and no, these aren't causing tons of bleeding and so forth, but no, Silva's crisper, keeping active, better striking, and here is just a random, let's score it for 10 for Almeida. So it goes against him, because this goes into a third round that became very competitive, and Almeida comes back, and so all judges score this for Almeida, and it was just a split decision. So happy the other two got it right, but that one really pissed me off. If we want to open up the statistics here, we can. Let's do that. Round 2. What do you got for round 2? Well, I got more total strikes. I have a takedown for Silva, right? So let's see. I have more significant strikes. I have a takedown. How the fuck do you score that for Almeida? I can't explain it to you, and I'm sure he couldn't either. Get these fucking bozo judges out of here. Pissing me off. Alright, moving up the card. Chepe Masvidal had a fucking amazing dominant performance. Again, Ricardo Ramos, Interesting fighter. It didn't seem like the best matchups, honestly. I think Chepe showed that he's bounds ahead of Ricardo. Ricardo did throw a lot of interesting spinning elbows and back fists, and did definitely catch Chepe. One of the times he got caught, I think it was his top left brow. Touched it a few times, got right back into the fight, kept going. It got touched up a few times further throughout the fight, but overall, pretty resilient. Was able to have this one unanimous. I also took Chepe by submission. I saw a lot of sharks hitting submission on this one. Didn't really quite have that attempt, right? It just became more of a fight on the feet. I think they were in a couple 50-50s throughout this fight on the ground and resumed their fight on the feet. So happy to see that performance. But yeah, let's give them somebody who's going to actually make this a fight his next time out. All right. New prospect, Mario Pinto taking on Austin Lane. Thought we could have seen Austin Lane get cut out of his last performance against Spain. Yeah, he had a win, but it was literally just laying on top of him. Gave a nice post-fight speech about his son and so forth, chasing his dreams. And yeah, maybe they got a little heartfelt. I don't know the terms of his contract now, but that was his last fight then. So he's getting to take on another one of these prospects in the first round. Mario's just a lot more patient. Shots are coming from Lane. The range is actually pretty good. It's not that Austin Lane doesn't have a solid stature for the division, but yeah, he's poking and prodding, working these jabs. Has a nice shot where Mario goes to dip, but his guard's a little low and just crosses on Mario and drops him slightly. But the recovery was quick. He did a good job of taking a lot of these attempts to have Lane weigh his weight against him, turning and reversing and disengaging and keeping this mostly a striking affair, which good homework on him because that's really what Lane has been doing up to this point for the most part, despite the knockouts on his record. So Mario comes back in the second round. Yeah, I'd give the first round to Lane. And the game plan changed very easily. Mario went after it within 30 seconds, had a nice flurry, and put Lane out bad. So nice knockout there. I had knockout by first round on Tapology, but yeah, as far as anything wagered in this, I had distance no and knockout. Worried that it could have turned into an early grappling affair on Lane's end, and we could have seen the second, third round. So I stayed away from anything round specific. But yeah, we'll see if Lane's back after that. I don't know that he will be. Moving up the card here, this one surprised the fuck out of the world. Going into this one, a lot of people had Patterson via submission, if at all. Majority of fans went with Barlow by knockout. Barlow by knockout won. Round one, and here it is. Patterson pieced up Barlow bad. Caught Barlow with a nice counter, followed it up. You could see that Barlow didn't have his equilibrium. Pounced on the opportunity, finished Barlow across the side of the octagon. Some vicious ground and pound. Tough one for Barlow. I know a lot of fans, even myself, prior to having MMA, told Barlow was one of those guys that took some time out of his day, chatted it up with me, kind of encouraged, hey man, yeah, you should try to be a little bit more interactive with MMA if that's something you really enjoy. I was just on a personal private profile of mine, not really doing anything public, but still doing the same fight predictions and having some fighter interaction here and there. And yeah, Barlow was a G. His fight with Quinlan made me think he was going to be pretty resilient. His last time out wasn't the best for him, but I gave him benefit of the doubt. The injury, maybe taking things a little slow, coming back after that injury, and this was supposed to be his big time to show up and show out. Did not go his way. I did hammer distance on this one because I figured regardless of how it went, I couldn't see either guy going to a judge, and I was right on that, as well as parlaying that with the knockout with Pinto. So yeah, distance was looking good throughout the card. Stayed away from distance on this one, but moving up the card with William Gomez and Hyder Emil. I was actually, as far as a pick, I had William as the fight ensued. At the end of the first round, I had a feeling that Emil was in this fight and was going to be a motherfucker. So I took the plus 400 live prop as soon as I could. And yeah, it seemed like Williams just kind of started slowing up and letting this fight slip away from him. His output slowed down. He was getting worked against the side of the octagon. Hyder doing a good job of just trapping him in these exchanges and getting off some solid shots and just throwing with conviction. But our good friend here from earlier, the one who really tried fucking over Danny Silva, he wasn't going to let it go that easily. That's right. They had Anthony Maness in the same blue region of judging. Where I don't know if it's different positioning there at the apex or what. Same motherfucking guy, same fucking spot, and he's fucking up the rounds again. Notice the other two judges have given the second round to Hyder, but somehow he gives this one to Gomez, who coincidentally again had no takedown attempts and had less strikes. So last time you gave it to a guy who had takedowns and more strikes. This time you got a guy working William, making the efforts of the takedown attempts too, and had the better strikes, and you're still giving it to William. So again, put down the phone. You can jerk off to Nina later, watch the fucking fights, and do your job and score based on criteria. I don't know what this Anthony dude is doing here, but it's pissing me the fuck off. So anyways, didn't have Hyder. Happy he showed up. Made it a fight. He gets the split decision. All right. Now this one ended up being a bit of a motherfucker here. This fight, despite I was at this point ranting about the terrible send-off they did for Dom Cruz. Gonna have a separate video. Already made a rant on IG, like a 2-minute clip. So I wasn't really in this fight in the beginning because I was so busy taking care of that and being pissed off over that. But as the fight progressed, damage was going out. The big kicker in this fight that determined Nasrat to be winner was how they scored that second round. He didn't and this wasn't just Anthony, right? This was the other three judges. I don't even think Anthony was a judge in this fight. Yeah, he wasn't. Mike Bell, Chris Lee, and Amato. So all three of those judges do this shit quite regularly. This isn't just they show up here and there. And they all fucking shit the bed. Esteban had the better strikes. He had more volume. We'll break this down here in this fight. Second round again. Yeah, 62 strikes of 183. Nasrat threw only 104 and hit 49 total strikes. That just cost him the fight. So we can pretend to be, oblivious that this shit's happening, or we can speak out as the fan base, as, MMA enjoyers, and question the criteria in which these judges are going on. What did they see? Have them have to explain themselves. That's the first step. Everyone goes, oh, we could go from a 3-judge system to a 5-judge system. It would turn into a sloppier clusterfuck doing so. I think 3's fine, but we need these judges to explain themselves at the end of why they are choosing this. And if it can't make sense, and they can't truly justify it, and they fuck up, then there's got to be recourse. Just like any other job, right? So, big fan of Esteban. I think he'll be back. He's a gamer. He kind of lacks that finishing oomph, that power. He has the ability to hit a submission here and there, but he's mostly shown through his MMA career that he wants to be game with the hands. His flurries, his head kicks especially, keep him in some of these fights where things aren't really going his way, or ahead of time. Maybe he gets that big head kick knockout like Terrence McKinney. He mixes it well. I think he'll be back. I think he'll be back with another few big wins. But Nasrat squeezes this one through for His Majesty. Well, I'm sure we'll see him over on an Abu Dhabi card or something like that down the line. Absolute bullshit. He shouldn't have won that fight, in my honest opinion. All right, moving up the card. I took Cody Brundage like a week in advance. He was at plus 142 when I hammered it. Put 3 units on it. And had I been able to do it earlier, I would have hit him by knockout. going into the fight. I think he was like plus 225 via knockout, but I had so many units on him already, and with the Esteban fight dropping a majority of my long shots, I just stayed away from that one. I took Cody, and you know, I was worried as fuck. He got dropped. Julian definitely hit him with an early shot. I saw his mouth guard fly out early, and he was eating some vicious shots up against the edge of the octagon as he scrambled to recover. He took an elbow at one point. I didn't see when Julian had lost his mouthpiece, but he had lost his as well, and they were just exchanging back and forth. Cody's lucky to throw back when he did, because Mark Smith, he just the way that he, like, Mark Smith, when he's like almost stopping a fight, I can't explain this shit, but he's just like super fucking wide-legged. He gets real into it, and he's weird as fuck. And he almost stopped that fight for Cody, and Cody did throw back just in fucking time to keep himself in the fight, and sure enough, stopped the fight briefly. Right when they had a stand-up exchange at the end of this brawl, Mark Smith gives both fighters their mouthpieces, and right off the rip there, Cody sticks Julian with a solid shot, like a right cross. Follows it up with some ground and pound, and almost gave Julian a chance to grab a hold of his legs and recover, but did a good job of hitting these vicious hammer fists from the side and was able to seal it away as Julian was trying to crawl away from him. So, good for Cody. He kind of needed that bad, so he got it. Alright. Last fight of the card, we had Manel taking on Asu. Like a lot of people, I liked Manel in this fight. Dude's improved a lot in his grappling defense. Was able to stuff the few attempts that he had from Asu. There is this thing going on in UFC right now where we just can't get a clean fucking main event two cards in a row now. We are having some controversial, really sloppy bullshit eye pokes. And he hit him with the good fucking Chris Weidman special, the 2-piece in the soda. But like Jorge used to dish out, but now we're doing it with eye pokes. Asu took an eye poke, took a second eye poke, is up against the side of the octagon. Earlier in the fight, he had already taken an eye poke and was able to like give himself some time. Like, he looked at Manel acknowledged, Beltran steps in, alright, okay, eye poke resumed. ESPN decided to cut out at this time, so I don't even know what the fuck happened up until the follow-up round when it resumed again. But yeah, that's how this fight was set up for Manel at the end of the fight. I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened otherwise. I think Manel was well on his way for a TKO, working to the body, ripping back up high. I mean, he's got a lot of power in these shots, the way that he sets his feet and throws. But this time it was certainly set up again with a 2-piece eye poke. Didn't get stopped. And Sue just kind of shelled up and ate the shots until he got fucking TKO'd. So, happy for Manel. I wanted him to win this one. I wanted him to be set up for just new blood for Pantoja eventually, or more preferably, I want him to fight, Kai Kara France. I think that's the fight to make. And there's a feud there. They haven't capitalized on it. It's the fight that I thought we'd be getting instead of this one, but ironically enough, Kai's going for a title. So, and if he was to pull up the upset, holy fuck, would that make for a first defense? Not that I don't think they shouldn't run it back with Pantoja if that was the case, because the dude's done more than earned his flowers there for a promised rematch if that's what he wanted. But yeah, I think Manel's entering that pool with Royval and Moreno and Usyk. He's going to be fighting one of these guys next, if not Kai, or if not Pantoja. So that's going to be my breakdown for now. I'm going to switch away and make another video recapping the whole Dom Cruz thing. My recap on that is you just had UFC Seattle and you got UFC 313 next week. Why are you doing the video here at the Apex? The response was disgraceful. UFC has been distasteful. The matchmaking with some of these vets on their way out We've missed some key fights that should have been made, and here we are. So, yeah, that's going to be my rant, my breakdown for now. I'll catch y'all next week. Thanks for hanging out. Peace.